Who did this to you? His voice cracked as if the words hadn't been used in years. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Her lips were split, her breath shallow, her eyes haunted. Ropes dug into her ribs, pinning her to the pine like an animal, left to die. Her dress was torn, her skin streaked with dried blood and dirt. And yet, somehow, she stood. Barely. Walt Branner hadn't touched another soul in 2 decades. Not since his wife died in childbirth on that same land. Since then, he hadn't looked anyone in the eyes, hadn't let anyone get close. He was a ghost in the forest, a man made of silence and sweat, living off memory and punishment. But something about her snapped him back into the world. He didn't ask again. He pulled his knife and cut the ropes. Careful not to startle her, she crumpled to the ground like a broken branch. He caught her. For a moment, her weight in his arms shattered something heavy inside him. He carried her back to the cabin, a structure built with grief and solitude, and laid her gently on the bed his wife once slept in. She trembled violently, flinching at every sound. Her throat moved like she wanted to speak, but no words came. He whispered, "You're safe here." And for the first time in years, he meant it. He cleaned her wounds in silence, fed her spoonfuls of broth. She never said her name, never asked for anything. But she watched him with eyes that had seen the worst of men and were still trying to believe he wasn't one of them. Days passed. Walt worked the land by day, chopped wood, mended fences, tasks he had done alone for years. But now, he found himself glancing at the cabin window more than the horizon. She started to sit up, then walk. Then one evening, she spoke. "I don't know why I'm still alive." He didn't know how to answer. So he did and single quotes T. instead. He brought her a pair of worn boots his wife used to wear and said, "They're yours now." Later, that week, she found the strength to tell him everything. Her name was Anna. She'd been traveling with her brother, running from a man who claimed to own her, some railroad contractor who took more than money and left bruises where no one could see. Her brother tried to protect her. He was shot. She ran into the woods, and someone, either a bounty hunter or the man's men, caught her and tied her up to die slow and silent. Walt clenched his fists so tight his knuckles bled. That night, he stayed awake by the door with a rifle across his lap. The next morning, he found Anna outside, chopping kindling, her back straight, her jaw set. She was still healing, but there was something in her now that hadn't been there before. And slowly, Walt began to change too. He started speaking more, telling stories about the wife he lost, the baby who never got a name, the dreams he buried with them. Anna listened, really listened, and sometimes her laughter would crack through like thunder in a drought. He hadn't smiled in 20 years. Now, he did. Every day. But peace never comes without a shadow. One afternoon, Walt returned from town to find fresh boot prints near the cabin, not his, not hers. He ran in. Anna stood frozen, her hands clenched around a frying pan, eyes wide with terror. A man lay unconscious on the floor, blood trailing from his temple. He said, "He came to take me back." Her voice trembled. "I didn't let him." Walt looked down, recognized the badge tucked inside the man's vest, a bounty hunter. And behind that he knew exactly who sent him. The next day, Walt saddled his horse, told Anna to stay inside, said he'd be back by sundown. She didn't ask where he was going, but before he left, she grabbed his wrist. "Please come back. I'm not strong enough to lose someone else." Walt stared at her, feeling something bloom deep inside his chest that hadn't lived in decades. "I ain't going anywhere. Not now." What happened in that town stays buried with the men who tried to collect on Anna like she was property. All anyone knows is they never came near his land again. Back at the cabin, things began to grow. Not just crops, but laughter, warmth, trust. And one morning, Anna stood at the edge of the porch, hands on her belly, eyes bright with something both terrifying and beautiful. "I think we've been given another chance." Walt stepped toward her. Slowly, he didn't know if he was ready, but he reached for her hand and said, Then we'll do it right this time. He hadn't been close to a woman in 20 years, and yet, here she was tied not by rope anymore, but by choice, by healing, by the miracle of being found. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.